Welcome to Comics Bazaar, the channel of comics commentary and arcana. This video features Classic X-Men number 2. It's cover dated October 1986, and this is the back cover by John Bolton, featuring Storm in her original X-Men costume from Giant Size X-Men number 1 and Uncanny X-Men 94, because this story takes place early in her appearances in the X-Men comics, somewhere between issue 94 and 95, and it presents us with the origin of her deep and enduring friendship with Jean Grey, aka Marvel Girl. Now, the back cover itself is stunning artwork by John Bolton. Really shows us why Aurora was regarded as a goddess in East Africa. Great work there on the storm clouds behind her too. And it's interesting to compare John Bolton's vision of Storm versus Dave Cockrum's or John Byrne's. It leans a little bit more into realism, even though she still has heroic proportions and idealized beauty. So let's get to the beginning of this story in the reprint. Oh, actually, I should show you the front cover by Arthur Adams, dated the 1st of May 1986. And then the inside cover there, which contains the credits. And so the writer of the backup story is Chris Claremont. The artist, John Bolton, pencils and inks by him, letters by Tom Orzechowski, and colors by Glynis Oliver. And we also have a little spot illustration there on the inside cover too. So let's get now past the reprint to the beginning of the backup story here. The title of the story is First Friends, and we've got a wonderful splash page there of Storm flying over the concrete canyons of Manhattan. And the third person narration declares there's nowhere on earth quite like New York, and no woman even remotely like Storm. Her true name is Aurora, which means beauty, which she is without a doubt in spirit as in flesh. Very Claremontian phraseology there. In her day, she's been both thief and goddess. All the while, though, she was a mutant, gifted with the power to control the elements, and of those myriad abilities, the one she loves best is to fly. So you can see she is in her element, the air, and I'm smiling there as she flies over Manhattan. But where is she en route to? Let's turn the page. Well, she's flying to the apartment that Jean Grey is renting, because Jean has left the X-Men. She's no longer an active member of them. And Storm is thinking to herself as she flies, and people are looking out office windows at her in marvelment. She thinks to herself, I'm told 8 million souls call this city home. So many people, bright lady. How can they endure these steel and glass and concrete towers? Where do they find proper air to breathe, and sun and sky and growing green to sustain their inner beings? They must be mad. But if so, then what am I, since I've chosen to join them? Yes, so it is a reminder that this is very, very early in Storm's decision to take Professor Xavier's invitation, to accept it and come from Africa to New York and be a member of this mutant superhero team. Superheroes as they were in this era before they ever became outlaws. And so she alights there, Jean Grey's home, and Jean is there. Welcome to mine humble abode, my first apartment. And Storm compliments it. It is quite lovely. And Jean says, I looked out. This used to be an artist's studio. That's why it's so huge. 2 sleeping lofts and the big main floor. Pardon the mess, she says. We're still moving in. So Storm asks, we? The rent's a small fortune. No way I could afford it on my own. So I have a roommate. She's a private investigator. Neat, huh? Misty Knight. So Misty Knight was introduced in Uncanny X-Men as Jean's roommate in issue 102. So Claremont seeding that much earlier in the continuity now by telling this untold tale of Storm and Jean and the beginnings of their friendship. So Jean says to Storm, there are so many guys in the X-Men, we gals have to stick together. And so that is an interesting point, because with Jean retired having stood down from the X-Men, Storm is the only female member and will be for quite some time until Claremont adds quite a few more female members to the team over the coming decade, and to the point that in the Outback era females outnumber men. But back now in this period of continuity, Storm is the only female member on the team. And she asks Jean, but I thought you left the team. In some ways, you never leave, says Jean. Misty will be home soon. She doesn't know I'm Marvel Girl, so you'd better change out of your costume as you wish, says Storm. And there's a flash of lightning. Felix the cat is there on Jean's mug, which is an interesting little detail. And suddenly Storm is standing there naked. And Jean is spluttering out her hot drink. Is anything the matter? Asks Storm innocently. Don't you believe in clothes? And Jean goes straight to the wardrobe, pulling out one of her dresses. And I love the little detail of her mug here. Let's say it's a coffee mug, floating with her telekinesis. She hunts for something appropriate for Storm to wear. Take my robe, she says, while I scrounge you something. And Storm is truly innocent. She says, my powers naturally protect me. I have no need for clothing. And Jean asks, and modesty? In your land, must I be so ashamed of my body that I should hide it? Asks Storm. No, says Jean, but I'm afraid this society isn't quite ready for such self-possession. And Jean thinks to herself, incredible, as a telepath I can sense it. In her thoughts, it really doesn't bother her. Really like the rendering here of the brickwork on the loft part of the apartment. That's really well done, as well as the grain on the timber here too. Really nicely done. Great work. There's the suitcase there as well, kind of indicating the boxes open too, that Jean and Misty are moving into the apartment. So great storytelling and thoughtfulness from Bolton in the art. Let's continue. So Jean picks out a dress for Storm. It floats, she says. And Jean explains, I'm a telekinetic, remember? I can move objects with my thoughts. When you're dressed, we'll hit the stores and outfit you properly. So that's something Claremont loves to do. He did it again in Uncanny X-Men 244, have just the female characters go out shopping. And it's something that I recall that John Byrne kind of complained about Claremont, that if Claremont had his way, there'd be no superheroics in the X-Men. It would all just be stories like this. The characters living out their lives and emotional conflicts and relationships and talking and chatting and doing ordinary things. But back into the story, Storm is uncomfortable in the borrowed dress from Jean. It's too tight for her. Just don't breathe or sit down. You'll be fine, says Jean. And then Misty arrives and she's got the groceries there, and Jean pulls Storm out the door. And I really like the look on Storm's face there. A pleasure greeting you. Farewell. Bye, says Misty. Much later, they've been shopping and Storm has enjoyed it. It's very strange, but very nice, she says. Oh yeah, they're also eating ice cream as well. And Storm finds that she enjoys ice cream. One of life's naughtier little indulgences, says Jean. And then there is a complication in the plot, but it's as mundane as a skateboarding purse snatcher. And he snatches in particular Jean's purse here, pushing over Storm and Jean. My purse, exclaims Jean. Take care of the packages, Ororo. So the ice cream has fallen flat on the ground, and Jean runs after the skateboarder through the crowd. It's really well done by Bolton. Let's continue. So the skateboarder goes down into the subway underground, and Jean follows him. Jean went down these steps, thinks Storm. So dark, so cold, it chills my heart, but why? And she exclaims, bright lady, and she hallucinates this swirling of the steps and the walls of the dark tunnel to the underground. The walls, the stone, they move, they live, they hunger for me. If I enter, I'm doomed. So what is going on with Storm? Well, Jean finally catches the skateboarder. Give it a rest, punk, and give me back my bag or else. But just at that moment, the subway train arrives suddenly, unexpectedly, with an ear-piercing screech of brakes. A train pulls in, its doors open, passengers alight, scores of people, a multitude of thoughts, so many, too many, hammering at Jean, overwhelming her with images not her own. She sees through different eyes, speaks different tongues, lives, loves, hates, needs, fears, rages, runs, dreams, fights, until finally, desperately, she wrenches herself back into herself. This, again, is very Claremontian, this catalogue of verbs here, which conveys all of the life activity, hopes, dreams, fears, emotions of the crowd of people getting on and off the subway train. And then Jean is left there, kid's gone, with my purse. Am I surprised? She thinks to herself. I was careless, so upset at being caught by surprise. I forgot everything Professor Xavier taught me. I opened my side screens wide, and when I ran into this crowd, I got clobbered. Again, a very Claremont phrase as well. Let's continue. And what about Storm? Why didn't she follow Jean down into the subway and help her? But where's Aurora, she thinks. She was right behind me. Why didn't she back me up? Still on the street. And you can see in Storm's body language how afraid she is, standing at the entranceway. And Jean is angry. What the blazes happened, Aurora? I needed you. And Storm stammers, forgive me, Jean. I do not understand, do not know. Could not move. And then Jean realizes what is the reason for it. Small wonder, she says. I can see the memory, clear as crystal. You were buried alive as a child. Your mother died right beside you. Oh, Aurora, how awful. But Jean's empathy and compassion for Storm is met with rebuke and anger. How dare you pry into my thoughts, yells Storm. How dare you? And then she rises up into the air with a blast of lightning. And there's a huge gust of wind, as you can see. And Jean thinks to herself, hurricane force winds, focused on me, waste of breath. Never seen anyone so angry, in the weather matching her fury. So she's pulled up a mile into the air, and you can see here that she's been wearing all along her Marvel Girl costume under her civilian clothes, which is interesting because even though she's retired from the X-Men, she still wore the costume out on the street, which reveals something about her character as well as enduring connection to the X-Men. And she thinks, looks like Storm switched to battle clothes. Got to focus my telekinetic power to keep from falling. If those clouds are any indication, though, things are about to get a whole lot worse. So now it's time for a confrontation. And Jean speaks and says, for pity's sake, stop this madness before someone's hurt. And Storm responds angrily, somebody already has been, by one she trusted as a friend. This is merely fair payment for that betrayal. My secrets are my own. You've no right to pry. And Jean insists, I didn't mean to. I was scared and angry myself. That's why I lashed out. Do you imagine I like being privy to others' thoughts? When you're a telepath, the problem isn't reading minds. It's not reading them. Keeping those psyches out of your own so you can grab a little peace and quiet for yourself. And that's a consistent reading of Jean's telepathy that Claremont writes into her character throughout his work on her. You know, he'll find within a power that some people might think would be a true gift, a degree of curse or challenge. And that's what he's done here with Jean's telepathy. And she continues and says, I'd rather be rid of my power, which would maim me as much as losing yours would you, than hurt a friend. And you are my friend, Aurora, whether you believe it or not. So will her emollient words and speech have the desired effect? Yes, Storm listened, spirits of earth and air. What have I done? So she realizes she's overreacted. A silent command from the Wind Rider banishes her storm as quickly as she summoned it, and a gentler breeze returns the two women to the now deserted streets. So the shopping's ruined, all those clothes ruined, thinks Storm. But Jean says some can be salvaged, others replaced. As Scarlett O'Hara said, tomorrow's another day and perhaps a better one, provided we have the courage to face it. We all live with demons, Ororo. That is another grand theme of Claremont's work. For every character, they have their demon, their shadow side. And let's continue with what Jean says. That a telepath knows better than anyone. The challenge is, do we rule them or they us? And Storm says she's afraid, and Jean responds, that's part of it, but will you face that fear? I want to run back to my home in Africa, says Storm. And a life that is familiar and safe, asks Jean. Yes. But if I do run, says Storm, I also know that I shall never stop. The darkness, like the future, is unknown and terrifying. And Jean, taking Storm's hand, says, you can beat it if you want. We both can. And Storm replies, then my friend, let us do so. So this is the origin of these two powerful ex-women's friendship. And it begins with an argument, a misunderstanding, and then an emotional bond and friendship between the pair that endures forever. So a really excellent story by Claremont and Byrne. 10 pages only. It's the kind of story that Claremont loved to write. Nothing in the way of major superheroic action, just a skateboarding purse snatcher, and then conflict between these two powerful mutants that's resolved in understanding and, as I said, enduring friendship, and just fantastic artwork by John Bolton. So I do hope that you enjoyed this review and commentary on First Friends, the backup story of Classic X-Men #2 by Chris Claremont and John Bolton. Let me know your thoughts on this one in the comment section. If you enjoyed my review and commentary, please like and share the video. It really does help the channel. And if you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for more content like this.